so we post them on our wall. So if you've lost any gloves, come on down and see if we've got it. So here's the soldier pile walls coming down here. We put a center bearing in here so we can build half of it at a time. So the beams will set right on here. And the next picture shows the roadway deck. Yeah, so then we made these precast panels. They're about 10 by 6 and a foot thick. And they sit on top of the beams that go across this way and some cross bracing, and that becomes the driving surface. So if you drive down Pine Street today, you're actually driving on this concrete temporary deck. And at one point there was a 90 feet hole below you, a hole underneath, but there isn't anymore. We filled it all in. This is the drill rig. It's mounted on a track hoe, and they can move it around the site. And the occasion for this picture was it was our last pile, so we were celebrating, and that was May 25th, 2005. It's been a while. So then we get into this game of digging underneath, and here's our deck beams. This is street level, way up at the top there. And as we start digging down with the soldier pile walls, and as you dig down, you throw in the timber lagging, so you're kind of undermining this thing as you go, which is tricky. We couldn't get any easements on the adjacent properties. A lot of times you'll put in tiebacks, you'll drill under adjacent properties. Most of the properties along here are hotels, and they have garages, so we couldn't do that. The people who didn't have garages were stubborn and didn't want us doing it. So this excavation was internally braced. So every 15 or 20 feet we had a row of these 30-inch pipe struts that hold the excavation out. Since we can't pin it, we have to internally brace it. So it meant that the excavation work was really slow, used a lot of small equipment, it took a long time. As we dug down, so at this level we're probably about 15 feet below the street level, well, we're starting to find utilities. So we hang those up as we go. This is a Seattle Sleet-Light duct bank, and it's live, and it's just hanging there. So we supported it. Every 10 feet there's lateral seismic bracing on there. This is a steam line. I don't know if you're aware of it. Downtown there's steam plants, and they pipe steam all throughout the downtown area. So we got live steam lines that we're supporting from our deck. This is a telephone line here, these two conduits that we had to suspend as we dig down. It's really fascinating because I've done a lot of these utility jobs, and you're always looking at holes. You dig a trench, you throw a pipe in it, and you cover it up. Well, here we are. We're under the street, and it's like being in this 3D model of all the street utilities. It's really been fascinating to watch all this go together. The telephone duct bank was actually one of the original telephone lines in downtown Seattle. There was a Central Exchange building, and it dates from the teens, and it was a combination of lead wrapped around copper wires, and then all in a lovely creosoted timber surrounding with creosoted timbers. So it was kind of like a little linear waste dump. I put this picture in here to show you some of the instrumentation that we had to do. These pipe struts had strain gauges on them in two different directions, so we could tell if they were trying to flatten or if they were trying to torque. And in this case, we discovered as we got down that the shoring pressures were higher than we anticipated because of the strain gauges, and that the pipe struts were starting to shorten, and eventually they'll buckle if you go too far. So we slapped on, we welded on angle irons on four corners of this thing to beef up this strut, and that took care of the problem. The city only allows a quarter to a half an inch displacement on your pile wall. It can't move in because it starts causing problems with the buildings. The faces will start to crack, or you can get into some pretty serious problems if your shoring fails. So we're watching it pretty continual monitoring to see what the shoring was going to do and how it reacted. So by the time we got down to up by the Paramount Theater, we were about 65 or 70 feet deep. And every 20 feet we started adding, we added these struts. So you'd get down to the bottom of that hole and you go, holy criminy, you know, we're way underground here. So this was one of our deepest level, and you can see 3 levels of pipe struts, and you can't even see the road. We're so far below it there. So once we got down to a certain level, we had to break into the existing bus tunnel I was telling you does a curve like this. And we had to bust out a section of this thing because we wanted to go straight. So here's our new project here. So we had to take out this piece of tunnel and rebuild it, and that's what's going on here. They started from the top, they knocked a hole in the top, then they started with this piece of equipment, busting out the sides, after we saw cut both ends, and then it was just a gigantic demolition project, and we drove all the neighbors crazy down there because it just went on and on and on. I don't know if you can, this is kind of hard to see here. This is the outline of the old tunnel here. We've completely removed a section of it. We're looking at it on end. We're looking at this piece right here, and the vehicles are down here in the old bus tunnel that we've made a convertible out of it, torn the roof off. And that's the Camlin Hotel in the background here. It's a little washed out. So once we got down to the bottom, then we had to fill up our hole. So this is floor slab going in, and the bottom slabs are typically about 5 feet thick. They got a little thicker down towards the deeper end. Sound Transit has a very stringent, it's the highest seismic code, it's the new IBC seismic code, so this thing is really stout. The walls are all 5 feet thick, the floors are a minimum 5 feet thick, and there's so much steel in there that we had to use special concrete mixes to get in concrete, because it's just incredible amount of steel. The criteria is that a 2,500 year earthquake, it doesn't collapse. 500-year earthquake, there's only minor damage, and you can put the trains back together. And 100 or even smaller level earthquakes, nothing's supposed to happen. So it's a very stiff box. So when we put the floor in, that allowed us to cut out the lower level of struts. That's what these are here. These are the old struts. So once we get the floor in, you can cut out some, and you got a little room to build. Otherwise, the contractor's tripping over these struts, and they hated it. So that's our slab going in here. You can see where the rail. They put in some in-beds here. This is where the rail's going to go. These lines here and here. Meanwhile, down in the tunnel, in the existing tunnel, I told you the rail had to go. So we saw cut on both sides of the rail. Luckily, Metro, when they built it, put a bond breaker a foot down. So there was a piece of tar paper in there, so we just busted these things out like big logs, and out they came. So we had miles and miles of trough that looked like this. And the date on this is from '05. It's been a while since it looked like this. Then we got this the contractor elected to use this milling machine that really was better suited for a highway project. But they used it anyway. But it just raised a hell of a lot of dust. Then they had to spray water to keep the dust down. It was just a total mess. It was just a mud hole. The dust was just billowing out of there. We finally had to really cut down the dust because we were ruining the ventilation system. There was so much dust in the air.